Episode 5, The Search for Enough. Welcome to Reviving Your Soul, where Christians are finding the courage to embrace their faith in all aspects of their lives so they can stop being bored or overwhelmed and begin to live the life in fulfillment and in peace that God created them for. I'm your host, Vanna Johnson. Let's get started. We're all created for a purpose. We all have that calling in our hearts to do what God created us to do. He's given us the tools and the abilities to live out our lives in a manner that He designed for us before we were born. The problem is that the world tries to keep us from our goals and purposes. It creates doubt, fear, and busyness in our lives. We get complacent and comfortable with where we are, and we don't reach for those things. Sometimes it's just that the noise is so loud, we can't even hear what our soul is longing for. But what if you gave yourself permission to step back, to really listen to what your soul was longing for, and then to step into that? I have to be honest, it wasn't my dream to do a podcast. I'd never even considered that a podcast would be something in my life. But I feel now, looking back, that I've been drawn to this for many, many years. You know, throughout my whole professional career, to help people become the best that they could be. In fact, I spent a 30-year career coaching and mentoring people in an informal manner as a supervisor and part of an executive team. But after 30 years, I felt this calling, this longing in my heart to do something different. I had had health challenges and was drawn to the health improvement world, and in fact went and got a certification to become a health coach. I wanted to serve people in a professional way. Continued. I wanted to use my past experience with my health coaching, and so started to create programs and along that way. And I can honestly tell you the minute when I realized that although health is very important to me and I will always be able to help people with that, it was time for me to step beyond that and become a faith-based coach instead. I was in a coaching session where my coach was kind of going through a list of questions, and I honestly don't even remember what those questions were anymore. But I just remember sitting there, and all of a sudden I heard her say, "What are you hiding? What is it that is missing in your life? What are you not including in your career, in your coaching practice?" And as I sat there, the word faith just popped into my head. And I realized that that's what it was. I had been trying so hard to, again, fit this professional image. I had my professional realm and I had my faith realm, and they were both very important to me. But only if you knew me well would you realize that I had both of those components in my life. And that's exactly what I was doing in my coaching practice. I was holding back, trying to create this image of what I thought I needed to be, what I thought the world wanted to me. And it wasn't me. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Jonah in the whale, where God called him to go to Nineveh and he resisted it. And that's the way I've been with my coaching. Every time I would go that way, I would feel a resistance and I would pull back. And God kept pointing me back to that direction. So I think it was self-doubt and fear that was keeping me from moving forward in the manner that God wanted me to. I can remember as far back as just being a little girl, sitting beside my grandmother in church, all prim and proper in my pretty little dress, looking up the songs, figuring out which song came next, and just basking in those old Christian songs, and just feeling how proud my grandmother was to have me right there beside her. Through the years, however, I kind of grew away from that heritage, that foundation that I'd been giving. When I was in grade school, my parents got divorced, and as us kids got older, so we didn't really want to go to church so bad. And with three of us fighting Mom and saying we'd rather sleep in, it was easy enough for her to just let that go by the wayside. Anyway, as I progressed through high school, I kind of got to in with a crowd, and we got to partying, and that really became important in my life, and became very promiscuous. And have to say that there were many years in that era where I'm not really proud of where I was, but I can tell you the exact moment of when that changed. I remember standing there, I was in the bathroom, and I just fell to the edge of the tub. I just sat there, and I looked at the little wand in my hand, and it was the little blue line, and it was, oh my God, I'm going to have a baby. And at that instant, I knew that that's exactly what I was going to do. And somehow I was so at peace with that, knowing that that was where I was led to be. And it was a turning point for me. I had taken time off from college, and at that point I turned things around and got re-enrolled into college, started working on my last couple of years for my degree. And ironically, it was shortly after my son was born. Within that year, I graduated from college. I started my first real job, and I met the man that I was ultimately going to marry and spend my life with. Fortunately, it felt like things were really finally coming together. He was a good Christian, and it just felt right. Because I literally remember laying in bed at night as I was pregnant or after my son was born, and just praying that God would bring me someone to share my life with. He answered that prayer, but it wasn't, I even then wasn't fully in alignment with what God wanted me for my life. It wasn't enough. I felt like I needed more. So I put my everything into my career. After a year in my job, I got a great promotion, and I thought, okay, this is it. I'm finally got everything I've ever wanted. But again, it was not enough. I pushed myself harder and harder all the time to do more and to be better and to be that professional that I knew that I needed to be. But it wasn't just that. I also needed to be a great mother and a stepmommy and a great wife, and I traveled, and I was a supervisor to a great staff, and it just kept building and building, and the pressure and the stress got to me. Even then, I can remember thinking back, and Sundays just really longing for that time during church where I could just sit and hear the word and feel really filled by that. Unfortunately, back then, I hadn't started Bible studies yet, and so it really was just Sunday mornings, and honestly, it wasn't enough, and so the stress built on me, and I started it with health challenges and all kinds of different ailments, and so I kind of started this journey towards trying to find health, and the good thing about that is that I learned how to eat better, and I learned to take good supplements that would help nourish my body in a way that I couldn't get from eating even really great foods. But it still wasn't enough, because I wanted to help others, and others weren't as interested in that. So I discovered this wonderful thing about health coaching, and had never really been exposed to that, but it was really exciting to learn about it. I took the certification course, and along that journey learned the value of coaching and the value of really rethinking our lives and how we live our lives, and in fact was compelled to quit my job, retire, and become a full-time health coach. And that, I knew that was going to be the answer. Everything was going to be better once I became a health coach. What I didn't know then, though, was that it's hard. It's really hard. There are so many challenges to being your own boss and learning how to do marketing and all of the things that go with that. And what I didn't do then, or what I didn't know then, was that I really needed to quit trying to do it all myself. I needed to trust God and turn it over to Him. And it wasn't until I just had tried and tried so hard in my own right to make it work that I just poured myself into my Bible and Bible studies, and God started pointing me to godly people, godly biblical teachers, even friends that started helping me understand that this is bigger than me and it's not all about me. And once I started that journey and started really seeking the truth, that's when the peace came into my life. And honestly, that's what this podcast is all about. It's here to help people realize that there is so much in this world that leads us astray. It makes us want to believe that money is the answer, or a great job is the answer, or a fulfilling career is the answer. And none of those things are it. It's all truly our relationship with God and our ability to have great relationships with the people that He brings into our life. So I invite you to join me in this podcast on a weekly basis. I invite you to come and learn how you too can revive your soul and become the best person that God intended you to be. I invite you to open your heart to living in truth and truly seeking the truth that God has set before us. I hope that you'll come back and join us for that. I look forward to sharing different experiences that I've had in my life. I invite you to send ideas if there are things you would like me to talk about. If you're interested in learning more, please go to vannajohnson.com and check out more about me and about the programs that I offer. And in the meantime, I will see you back here next week in Reviving Your Soul with Vanna Johnson. Thank you, and have an amazing day.